Hello everybody, welcome back to the channel. Today we are going to be talking about fleet commanders. More specifically, we're going to be talking about this little fella here. We're going to be talking about Fleet Commander Sloan, the latest free-to-play grindable fleet commander in Star Trek Fleet Command. But we're going to talk about fleet commanders in general, what they are, what their three main types of abilities are, because they all have these. And we're going to also talk about how to acquire different fleet commanders and where I think you should put your focus. But as I've said, Fleet Commander Sloan is one of the greatest additions to the game. He has had a revolutionary impact on my game as I've made the push into G6, and I think he can for you too. So we're going to dive into fleet commanders, how they work, what they do, and why I think Sloan is amazing and why anybody not going for him really should start. So let's crack on, let's get into the video, and let's talk fleet commanders and Fleet Commander Sloan. So let's start at the beginning. What are fleet commanders? Fleet commanders are basically officers that are sort of permanently crewed to the back depths of your ships, and they're always applying bonuses and things like that. We currently have 6 of them, so you've got the 3 that you can see here, which are slotted for me. Slotted meaning that they are currently active. That becomes more relevant in a second when I explain the different types of abilities. And then we've got 3 others that I don't have slotted, which are Locutus, 7, and Janeway. 7 of 9 Locutus, and obviously Admiral Janeway down there as well. And they are there basically to provide you with additional buffs. And you can look at these as kind of officer abilities and research all loaded into one. And every single officer has 2 main upgrade paths. So like normal officers, you can level and promote them. So obviously they max out at level 100 and they max out at rank number 20. So you can see here rank number 20, and obviously you've got up to Fleet Commander level 100. Now you cannot take this past a certain level until you are in the 51 plus range, because you need epic Fleet Commander credits, which are got from solo Borg armadas, from the epic ones starting at 51. So if you are stuck with your leveling and wondering where you get the epic credits from, you get that from when you get to 51 plus, so into G5 basically, and then you are able to start sourcing those from the epic Borg solo armadas. So the 3 that I have slotted, Admiral Kirk, Luther Sloan, and Captain Spock, what we're going to focus on today specifically is the sheer massive impact of Luther Sloan. We're going to talk about sourcing all of these different fleet commanders, and I think that's the good place for us to start. Where do you actually physically get them from? So Kirk and Spock, when you do the missions, when you first start the game, I can't remember what ops level it is exactly. It could be something like ops 10, ops 15, something like that. You have the choice of selecting a full unlock of one of the original commanders, which is Admiral Kirk and Captain Spock, and they both have their own individual benefits and utilities. Like I say, we're not going to go dive into those. If you'd like to see a video on Kirk, on Spock, and obviously on which one to choose when you're in the early game, a lot of people have already passed that point. It doesn't take long to get there, which is why I've not specifically gone into that. And once you've made that decision, then obviously you are pretty much tied to that decision, so you can't go back and make an alteration. But Fleet Commander Sloan, sourcing of this is all done through your Section 31 store. So your Section 31 store, in your faction section, you will have, I don't see this option now because obviously I have fully unlocked him, but you can get a daily drip of Fleet Commander Sloan shards every single day. And this to me should be one of your biggest priorities within your Section 31 store before you start bumping up your strike teams and getting refits. Even reputation. I know reputation is a huge thing in the game, but for me, unlocking Fleet Commander Sloan is going to be absolutely pivotal to making you an even better and stronger player. So that's what you should go for. And also in here, this is the way to source Sloan skill points, and we'll talk about what skill points do in a second. So if we go back in, and like I said, the other side of upgrading them, other than just the level, which you access through the info button, is they all have 3 individual skill trees with different names. So you can see when we're looking at Sloan here, we have Tactician, Mechanic, and Escapist. And all of the abilities underneath sort of tie into what the name is, but obviously they have different types of abilities. Now, identifying what those abilities are, you may feel are a little bit confusing, but they're not. So I'm going to break it down really easily. Anything that's just sort of sat on its own, so look at these. So like this one up here, this little hexagon that's just sat on its own, this hexagon that's just sat on its own, and these two down at the bottom, they are called on-duty skills. On-duty meaning that it must be seated in one of your available slots. So it must be up here. You start off with one slot. Your second slot you get is when you get your command center. Your command center, which is obviously is in your station. That's a defense platform. That's not a command center. The command center is at the top of your station here, up here. When you get to command center level 40, you unlock a second seat. Now, the third free-to-play seat comes through your syndicate. Now, it is right at the upper echelons of the tree. You need to get to syndicate level 40, and you see here that you could unlock a third free fleet commander slot. And the fourth slot at the moment, because there are only 4 available, is pay only. Now, the pace at which to upgrade the command center is so painfully slow. You can see here I am currently with decent research, 564 out of 1280, and I have been free to playing this since the command center launched. I am still months away from command center level 50, which is important to me for the next level of skills, but it's such a slow building to upgrade. They need to improve the sourcing on this or add more efficiencies. There is an efficiency for this, and it's locked in behind G5, which is one thing. But if you go into your station tree, and towards this side here you have the cosmic particle research. So these particles here that you get once you are in G5, you get them by completing dailies. There is a research here, exotic outfitting, which actually does increase the cost efficiency of quantum communicators, artifacts, schematics and things like that. And quantum communicators are the currency used to upgrade your command center, so you can technically make it cheaper, but it is still a very, very slow grind for you, but you need to be able to do that. But those on-duty abilities require, as I've said, for them to be seated. So seated up here in one of your available slots. And that is the ones that are just the plain hexagons. When you see something that's in a red square, such as this one, this is an always-on ability. And always-on does literally mean that. So even if it is not seated, so it's in one of your slots down at the bottom, it's not physically in the chair, then this will still be applying. So anything in the red squares, you can see, is always an always on ability, so they are decent. Anything that's got a circle around it, basically it's creating a group, and what those groups are is basically what's called a selectable skill. So once you unlock a certain skill, and you can see that I've got whizzy rings going around a couple of these, you can go into them and you can select one of the 3 within the section to actually have active whilst your fleet commander is on duty. So they're not always on, these are on duty again, so they must be slotted in one of your available slots, but it's selectable and you can change which one. So if I just quickly unlock this, look, I can select this one, and then you can see that my whizzy circle moves to this. And then if I wanted this one, obviously you'd have to go into that one and then reselect that. I need to wait 6 hours once changing one to be able to put one to rechange it over. So you can't just keep changing it willy-nilly. You can only change it every 6 hours within the individual group. And that's the same for when you want to change your fleet commanders, so bear that in mind. So if I wanted to put, if I had Janeway, I don't have any of these 3 at the bottom here. If I had 7 of 9 or the Cutas and I wanted to put them up here, I could do that, but then I couldn't replace them without the 6-hour timer being enforced. The only exception to this, somebody that you can take on and off freely, is Janeway. Janeway is the only fleet commander that has the ability for you to move her on and off the bridge at will. I don't know why she's the only one, but she is. but she is. And they're the 3 different types of abilities. Now, Fleet Commander Sloan, why do I think he is so good? Fleet Commander Sloan is so good because he has a few really amazing abilities. And we're going to start with the tactician tree. We're going to go through all 3 because, like I said, this is a deep dive on Sloan and why I'm telling you that he is so good. So his top ability is a piercing stat, which people have that much piercing research and things that these percentages, even when you get down to the bottom at 150%, are they noticeable? Not really. Do they impact things? Slightly, but not much. But piercing, not something that I go for in such low percentages, not something that's a huge priority for me. Where this starts to become exceptional, obviously protected cargo, max cargo for your ships. This is This is not protected cargo. This is physically increasing the cargo space of every single ship you own. Great for things like the Talios, the Stella. When you're in G6, just G6 in general, because obviously we know that G6 ships have such low general cargo capacity that anything you can do to increase it is really important. This is one of the biggest ones for me. Isolytic damage, a flat isolytic damage boost for all ships. Now again, these look like small percentages, 8-10%, but remember, when these are impacted by cascade, they have a huge value. Anybody that doesn't understand how isolytic damage and isolytic cascade is working, then what you need to do is you need to watch the video that I put out a month or so ago regarding how isolytic damage is calculated and how it works and how it can change your game. Really informative video, a little bit of maths in there. However, I think if you don't understand isolytic damage, you really should do, because it's a really key component of the game. So huge. The next three sections here are all about critical chance. Now, critical hit chance, as we know, criticals play a huge part in being able to kill hostiles and things quicker. And there are three different abilities. So you've got it against hostiles, you've got it against armadas, and then you've got it against group armadas there. I think this one's solo. In base, crit chance against armadas, and this one is crit chance against group armadas. So against why you would choose one over the other, I have no idea. I think you would just tend to go for armadas flat, even though the percentages are slightly higher when you go for the group armada section. You'd want it against everything, including solos. I think that would be more functionable. Then the bottom row here, the next set of our selectable skills, you've got basically like a prime station delay tactic thing. Basically reduces the charge on your weapons. Base defense, not a huge priority for me, not something I think that you should be investing heavily into. However, when we're talking about base raiding and things like that, no stone unturned increases the combat scavenger ability. What this is like having another Baitor. So Baitor is increasing the effectiveness of your amalgam's ability to take even more out of your target when raiding with the amalgam. And increasing the combat scavenger ability is going to make your amalgam even more potent, because this does stack with Baitor. So that's huge. His 50, when we get to Command Center 50s, is the reason that I want to try and get it up there. This is increasing hostile loot for everything. So remember, loot, it includes reputation, it includes armada loot, it includes broken ship parts, absolutely everything impacted by this. And we can see it's a 15 level and it goes up to 50%. So it's like having another half of a maxed 5 of 11 just from this one ability. Really good. And then this one here, increasing isolytic defense for all ships, and this goes up to a 60% boost. So another really good addition. And the tactician tree, I think if you just saw that one, it would make you dive straight into Sloan, but there is more. Moving on to the mechanic tree. So the mechanic tree, if we start at the top here, and this starts off with mitigation, on-duty ability. Similar to piercing, there's so much mitigation in the game now that this does sort of bleed into insignificance, but again, every little bit helps, right? But you're not going to notice anything massive by doing it. Moving down this side, you have got repair speed, and then you've got, again, repair speed. Who's not swimming in speed ups to make repair speeds a little bit less important? But again, G6 players, Sigma players, trying to save those speed ups, because it's so much more expensive to use your speed ups with regards to Latinum if you do run out of speed ups. But best will in the world, speed, not a massive priority for me in terms of ship repair. Ship repair efficiency. So in terms of cost, making it cheaper. And these are big bonuses, 200, 250% in terms of repair costs, saving you that valuable titanium when you are repairing your ships, which is really good. And moving down here, you've got some efficiency for rhodinium particles. So rhodinium particles, another research particle that you use within your galaxy tree. So making that a bit cheaper. Not something I've invested into heavily yet, but probably something I will do when I start going back and really working on that galaxy tree. And then the 50 ability on the left-hand side of mechanic is increasing cost efficiency for cosmic particles. And they're the G5 particles that I was just showing you that are specifically for that research, for like making it cheaper to upgrade your command center. So that section of the station tree. So again, adding more efficiencies, and we always like efficiencies that make things cheaper and allow us to do things quicker. The right-hand side of mechanic is super interesting. So the top one is increasing cost efficiency for leveling up. So basically your proto matter. So when you're upgrading your forbidden tech, X, making that cheaper, because we all know that now Protomatter's not a huge bottleneck, providing that you have the Ferengi Whip. Let's throw that caveat in there. If you've got the Ferengi Whip, a lot of people don't hugely struggle for Protomatter. Where they find a huge problem with Forbidden Tech is tier-up catalysts, and tier-up catalysts have got their own efficiency from Sloan within his mechanic ability, and up to, like I say, it's a 20, I think it's 25%, goes up to a 20% bonus, 20% efficiency, but because there's so little efficiency in the game, this 20% does make a difference in terms of tier-up catalysts, which is nice. Carrying on, we have got an always-on shield health ability, and like I say, it maxes out at 350%, but 280% bonus that I've got so far with my level of command center. You can see I can need command center 55 to get that 15th level. Oh my god, how long is that going to take? How long is that going to take? But again, it's an always-on ability, so regardless what happens, you investing into this, you are always going to have that shield health on your ships, whether he is slotted or not. Increasing loot from Dominion Solo Armadas, again, important for probably a fair chunk of players, and something that's, again, it's pretty passive. He's on duty, but it's just meaning that you've got to do less to be able to maintain your pulls, or it might allow you to be able to do the odd triple pull where you was only able to do doubles before, if you're able to get that, because again, this one, it's not insignificant. It maxes out at a 300% bonus to loot, so I think that's pretty impressive. And then we've got an always-on ability for hull health as well, starting at command center 50, and hull health has been absolutely flooding into the game over the last 12 months or so, but again, this maxes out at another 600%, which again, not insignificant, and will increase the survivability of your ship. Moving into the third tree. Now, this is the one that I'm least excited about, if I'm being honest. Escapist is probably the least important section of the Sloan abilities. As we've just seen, I hope you've seen that Tactician and his mechanics trees are so valuable and going to make massive impacts to your game. But in terms of Escapist, we've got the top here, we've got increasing your protected cargo, important to some people, but obviously, again, it's nice, it's an on-duty ability, but protected cargo, not a huge focus for me. There is a reputation bundle, which allows you to get up to another 50% reputation for when you're killing hostiles, which obviously always includes armadas. Again, it's an always-on ability, so making your rep grind faster. The next section is all about cloaking, and cloaking to me is one of the most, I don't know, it was a little bit of a flop in my opinion. It's not, I use it mainly just to hide. I don't use it really for its combat-based abilities, but it's basically increasing the chance of you hiding your ability for your opponent to see you, and then increasing your opportunity for seeing reports on other people. But they both just counter each other. Once everybody gets these up to max, they basically are a nil point, putting you back on a level playing field, and then increased mitigation stats while cloaked as well as the third selectable ability. You've noticed it's in a ring, so you basically choose one of those options from that section. Next bit. It's all about mitigation, but this is specific to a ship type. So you've got explorers, battleships, and interceptors. I would recommend that if you are working on Sloan, that you just choose what your main ship is. So my main ship is my Enterprise D. So what I do is I select the explorer section. And obviously, as that changes, remember to come back and change these. Next one is an always-on ability for weapon damage, and this goes back to the exact same thing I was saying about both piercing and mitigation. There is so much in the game now in relation to mitigation, piercing, weapon damage, that percentages need to be really high for it to feel like it's having any real difference. And the percentages are not tiny. I mean, I can get up to 9 at the moment. It maxes out at an 800% difference. It is something. It is always on. But, like I say, will you notice it when you change one level? No, you won't. If you added 10 levels to this, you may notice a little bit of an impact. But just because there's so much research and stuff that impacts weapon damage, I think it's something that you won't notice too much. And the final one, which is the Command Center 50 ability at the bottom, this is an on-duty ability for increasing warp speed. Now, again, this has some really significant bonuses. This caps out at a 3,500% boost to warp speed. That is pretty significant. That is pretty hugely significant, especially when you are a G4 player just starting there. You might not have great warp range. Getting up there to deep space might be a thing. And then all the way up to the G6 players where it's taking 7. It takes me about 9 or 10 minutes to get to my faction hostile hunting system. Anything that I can do to speed that up to make that run a little bit quicker is welcome. And like I say, it starts off with a decent 300%. Bearing in mind, they used to sell a prime for 200%. Do you know what I mean? So you're getting 150% of an old $100 prime prime, that $100 prime is still there. I think it's in the away team's tree, and it's still £100 for you to be able to get that. So getting a 300% level 1, it will make an impact to your warp times. So massive, absolutely massive. Fleet Commander Sloan has so many abilities. Tactician, Mechanic, oh my God, I think they're probably two of the best individual trees within Fleet Commanders. And what I'm trying to implore everybody to do with this video is make sure that if you are not using your Section 31 credits to acquire Sloan, then you should be doing. You really should. He has got some fantastic abilities, some amazing things that will be game-changing to you. I do not say that lightly. This was able to take me when I first moved up to G6. Now, I know this is an example that's not prevalent to absolutely everybody. Just working on Fleet Commander Sloan increased the number of hostiles that I could kill by 100%. Now, let me talk the numbers, because the numbers are tiny. I went from being able to kill 2 hostiles in a hull up to 4 hostiles in a hull. I know that sounds ridiculous. I know. I was working with a tier 5 Enterprise D trying to hit the level 61 hostiles, but just upgrading Sloan with his isolytic damage, his piercing, his mitigation, because those hostiles were so big compared to what I was used to hitting, it did have a 100% increase to me. And I would be really interested to know if anybody has got any other fantastic uses for Sloan or any examples of where it's been really good. Please drop them down in the comments below. Comments really, really help the channel, so please, please, please use the comment box down below. Let me know what you think of Sloan, Fleet Commanders in general, and obviously we can take it from there. And while you're there, please subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Over 70% of the people that watch the channel aren't subscribed. Please don't be one of those people. Please subscribe to the channel, it really helps. And obviously the like button if you like the content. So sourcing Fleet Commander Sloan is done through your Section 31. We've talked about sourcing of the other two. Fleet Commander Locutus, Fleet Commander 7, they are both sourceable in the Incursion store, obviously that has just recently closed. So when Incursions runs and you get your Incursion coins, you can use those to source 7 of 9 and Locutus. Janeway at the moment is pay only. Hopefully they will add a source or a path for you to be able to start unlocking Janeway, because all Fleet Commanders do have some abilities. And even if you just focused on, let's look at Locutus, for example. I don't have him unlocked, but if I did have him unlocked, we can look at the always on abilities. So if he's never going to be on my ship, what can I get here? Mitigation stats while cloaked, not really bothered about. Kinetic weapon damage, does that go up to anything of any decency? 400% bonus to kinetic weapon damage. We've got increased damage against solo or group armadas, so making sure you can maybe punch up a little bit more. We've got ship repair speed, and we've got max shield health. They're the always on abilities for Locutus, for example, but have a look and maybe focus. Now, none of that massively excites me. None of that really excites me. So that would put me to say, right, let's have a look at 7 of 9. Let's look at our always on. And I'm looking at their always on abilities, which obviously remember are the outlined yellow squares, because the 3 commanders that I've got up there now, Kirk, Spock, and Sloan, I'm going to be hard pressed to change any of those. Hard pressed to change any of those. Base damage against players, so it's a PvP up to a 350% boost. We've got quantum communicators awarded on a daily basis, speeding up the progression of your command center as an always on ability. This one ability alone for 7 would tell me stop focusing on Locutus if that's what you're looking at because you think he looks cool, and go for 7 from your Incursion store and every opportunity that you can get. It doesn't sound like much, but at max you're going to get another 15 per day, which is probably, I think I get about 32, so it's realistically adding another 50%, so it's speeding the time up by 50%. It's absolutely huge, if I'm honest, just as an always on ability. And at level 50, skill point efficiencies, making it cheaper for you to actually upgrade your fleet commanders, because as you saw there with Sloan, that you do use skill points in order to upgrade your fleet commanders. So if I go into here, we can see here that we're using the Sloan skill points to upgrade him, and they're the ones for Sloan specifically that we are only getting. Again, it's only sourced sometimes in battle passes like the wave defense pass. There's sometimes some Sloan skill points in there, but he's sourced again through the Section 31 store, putting even more prevalence on why waves are important, so that you can get some decent commitment down into Sloan. So important. Fleet commander stuff for the other two, like for example Kirk, Spock, Janeway, Locutus, 7, they are sourced through your refinery. So if you go into your refinery and then you go into your command center bundle, you can see here that you can exchange the uncommon skill points into Admiral Kirk, Captain Spock, Locutus, Seven, Janeway. You can exchange to get their skill points in here from the uncommon skill points again that are sourced very heavily through your Borg solo armadas. So really important. And then when you get to the end of all the uncommon skill points, you then need rare skill points. Rare skill points are very, very tough to source. You can see here I can get about, and I haven't pulled these for months because I haven't worked that much on Kirk and Spock because I need to get my command center up even more. But it's probably been 2-3 months since I've converted these, and I can only get 66 so far. It's not much, is it? 660. So I can't get very many. But then when you look at the costs of some of these things, so if we go into Spock, for example, because he has got some skills that I can upgrading, let's see if we can find one that uses. So look, this one here, cargo size for all survey ships, is costing me 30 skill points. I can only get 600, and this is just for level 4 to level 5. So they are really tough to source, and these are sourced and primarily your rare skill points using your Titan. So your Titan is one of the key ways of doing this. So when you're in your refinery, go to the support section, you can see here Fleet Commander skill points. So this bundle here, which is just by completing your Titan daily, is how you actually get the crystalline beryllium, and then that will allow you to convert into rare skill point fragments that you go back into that command center refinery that I was just showing you. Yes, kill this, do this daily, refinery, but you convert those rare skill point fragments into rare skill points up here. So that's why making sure that you get your Titan as high as you can to improve that refinery, that is another reason for you to continue to work on your Titan. Even if you don't see huge benefits from the likes of Max Fortify and Fortify, you should see benefits from those. They are absolutely outstanding abilities. But that's Fleet Commanders. I hope you've learned something. I hope this has been a nice little deep dive and an introduction to explaining how Fleet Commanders work, all the different abilities, obviously, but again, focus primarily on Sloan and why you should be working towards getting in. Thank you so much for watching. Please subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. I know I've already mentioned that. Like, comment, all that fun stuff here on YouTube. Leave me any feedback that you want to down in the comments section down below. And please check out our website, itslube.com, where you can access all of our content, YouTube, Twitch. We do have, guys, we have now got, and we have launched the first episode of our brand new podcast. Link to that is in the Content with Lube channel, but you can find it at the moment on the likes of Spotify, Podbean, all those places, YouTube podcasts. You can find a link to that brand new podcast, Brits and Yanks Talk Trek. So please come, and we want all the feedback and suggestions and things for topics on that as well. But thank you so much for watching. Have a marvelous day, and remember, guys, that everything is better with lube. Take care, people.